Good evening, everyone. Okay, our webinar is talking about data protection using Veeam. As this presentation or webinar is live, so we have to wait a moment while the attendees will show up. First of all, let's talk about CloudZone, who's hosting this webinar. This is Abdulghani Al-Khatib from CloudZone ITC company. CloudZone is an IT solution provider and service provider based in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. CloudZone focuses on several phrases and domains. It's a cloud computing, endpoint management, and IT infrastructure. As we promise our customers to provide professional deliverable service with standardized and global vendors using our partners like Microsoft, Veeams, and many others. We have additional departments with cybersecurity division also that focuses to penetration testing and security assessment and email encryption to our enterprise company. Also, we provide cloud computing in different models, solution and platform services, and also infrastructure as a service. If you have any challenges with your business, we are waiting you to contact us as we are expert and having our consultant to deliver expert knowledge and experience to your business. We promise our client to save their budget up to 40% from their spending using our financial and technical auditing service using a trusted cloud computing vendors. This is our recent and very recent clients who uses our services and solutions. Also, we focuses on three majors like quality of product that we provide, expertise of engineers that we deliver, and support that we care after the sales. We also qualified and certified from multiple vendors. Today we will focus on Veeam especially and how can Veeam protect you and protect your data as well. If you have any issue, please contact us. Keep in touch so we can keep a very updated solution, an IT solution to your business. Okay, let's switch back to protect data with Veeam. This is Abdulghani Al-Khatib, again a cloud engineer working with CloudZone. We will focus today the first speaker about data threats and data vulnerabilities, what the risks could target the data and business data during our business life cycle. And we will host our guest today, Ahmed. Ahmed Sabah is a pre-sales consultant from Veeam Software, Veeam Saudi Arabia. He will focus on how could Veeam help companies to protect their data, make a demo how to make a backup and restore that backup to Veeam Cloud and Veeam On-Prem, and different scenarios that could help companies to protect their important data. Let's start with the data threats, and we divide that into two parts. Either could be a technical, and that most important thing, and non-technical, like people issues, maybe people misuses their data and so on. Let's dive in what is the technical data threats. We will focus and spotlight over 3 or 4 points of uh, the threats that targeted our business data. Let's start with the first one. First one is hacking. Hacking, as you usually know, it's a multi-threat and multi-billion dollar industry for the cyber criminals who could focus on hacking the enterprises or even small companies to leverage their attack to steal the business data, expose their source code, expose their secrets, maybe targeted military, maybe targeted a petrochemical industry. So it's their target is targeted most important data and secret data, maybe confidentials, maybe documents, maybe uh, deals, contracts, maybe collaboration contract, and many more. As you will know, what is your real data? Hackers targeting a public service to gain access to your system and the company system and steal their your data to extra filter uh, to the public internet and the dark web. Also, misuse, or let's move to the malware. Malware is very important threat that could target your files. If you are an agency that making a media or building a video or designs and many things, so most probably your business is your data. As you know, all of you know that malware is very critical virus that target files and encrypted to be unable to reuse. So they distribute malicious software over cracks, maybe internet, maybe phishing campaign, maybe social media, to gain access to your computer systems and compromise data and information and encrypt it so you will not able to use it. Also, we will focus on very important department, that is misuse of data, either by incident or by a targeted reason or previous reasons that could use by employees. So nowadays, if your employee has to be resignated or left your company, most probably they could, if they are angry, yeah, they could target your data and sometimes could be deleted or distributed or published or maybe copied. That mm, that mainly call it misuse data. So usually the data is used for several purposes, and misusing either by purposes or non-purposes that included abuse your business data. Also, at the last point, we have targeted or talk about advanced persistent threat, APT. It's a hacking group that targets data in very long time and very detailed hacking technique methodology to target your computer and avoiding system detection and antiviruses and protection systems, so they could steal the most valuable data that you host, like your source code or search engine code, as we also know that recent attacks on very large and very common search engine uh, in 2022 that leakage their source code of the search engine and maps and very, we will not use their uh, company so we will not be violating their brand. So apt, that just targeted the most important data in your system like a source code, and that is very critical and threat that target your data and files. Okay, what are the solutions then? The solution is just to use a backup. We advise many customers and many companies what is the first phase just to protect your data. Make a usable backup. Use a very trusted or well-known backup provider or solution provider, so you will protect your data from any misuse, either technical or non-technical. That's why we will host Mr. Ahmed today uh, to talk deeply about Veeam and how could Veeam help customers just to protect their data. Okay, let's switch to Mr. Ahmed. Hold a moment so I can enable him. Okay, Mr. Ahmed, can you hear me?
Yes. So let me just share my screen. So
Mr. Ahmed is a pre-sales consultant from Veeam Software in a branch of Saudi Arabia. He will demonstrate the Veeam and talk deeply how could Veeam help uh, companies to protect their data. Mr. Ahmed, your screen is shared already. So yes, you can start right now.
yeah. So well, thank you, Abdul Ghani, for the great introduction, and thanks everyone for joining our webinar today. So my name is Ahmed Al Sabbah. I'm a pre-sales consultant at Veeam Software. So in today's sessions, I'm going to present Veeam solutions, and I will be demonstrating some of Veeam features and capabilities that will help you to meet your business requirements that are related to backup, recovery, and cloud data management. So obviously, I think all the microphones are being muted. So please, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to drop them on the chat box, and we will try to address them during the webinar or by end of it on the Q&A sections. So without further ado, let's get started with our agenda for today. So I'm going to give you a quick overview about Veeam Solutions. Then we will be going through the backup and recovery features and capabilities. And we'll see how Veeam can help you to mitigate against ransomware attacks. And we will go through monitoring, analytics, and reporting capabilities of Veeam. And we'll talk about Veeam protection for Microsoft Office 365. And then we will be presenting Veeam unique licensing models. And finally, we will be closing with the demo sessions and the Q&A. So let's talk about Veeam in numbers. So Veeam is a US company. Our head HQ is based on USA. We are really global leader in cloud data management, and we have number one market share in EMEA, and we are protecting about 83% of the Fortune 500 companies. So we have more than 400,000 customers globally, and we have about 1,200 customers only in Saudi. And we have offices across more than 35 countries, including our office in Saudi. So we have sales, technicals, pre-sales teams are in the regions here. So we make sure always that we work closely to our customer and to be their trusted advisor. So we can be reached easily, directly or via our partners here in the regions. So, and of course, because of our support and the trust and the satisfaction of our customers, we were able to reach the 75 net promoter score, which is considered a high number comparing to all other competitors in the market. And that's what really made Veeam grow very quickly and became an industrial global leader in cloud data management. So why would you choose Veeam? Veeam, it has a really unique design strategy. So Veeam is a really simple, easy of use software that can be monitor and manage all your workload from a single platform. It is a fully scalable and flexible solutions. Veeam is a software-defined solutions that can be work in any architecture that you have with no limitation on the hardware. So we are vendor agnostics. So we can run in any servers that you have, whether virtual, physical, cloud server, and we can be as running as a software as a service if you take Veeam from one of our service provider in the region. Veeam is highly reliable solutions that can help you back up and manage your data from anywhere to anywhere at any time. And with we have our 24 by 7 special global support that will be supporting you whenever needed, over phone, over emails, or over through our portal. So with Veeam Cloud Mobility and Data Portability, you can manage and monitor all your workload from a single pane of glass. So using Veeam single universal license, that you have to it will help you to cover and protect all this workload that's mentioned here. So as you can see that we can back up any workloads, whether workloads in a cloud or on your on-prem, physical or virtual, or you have them on any service provider. So we can back up all these workloads, and we can even restore it to any available infrastructure that you have. So we have this whole this cloud mobility features that can manage all your backup infrastructure from a single point of single pane of glass. And we will be showing these capabilities during our demo sessions. So Veeam is actually is a single platform that designed to make sure that your data is protected and highly available across all your platform. Whether you're running on a cloud environment, whether you have a software as a service, some special and enterprise applications, you have virtual environment in AHV, Hyper-V, Red Hat, virtualization, or you have any physical server, Veeam will be able to protect you and even will be able to monitor all this infrastructure. And as being said that Veeam is a vendor agnostic, so we don't have any limitation on the hardware. Whatever hardware that you currently have or you're planning to have in future, Veeam will be able to utilize it. And we will have also an out-of-box integration with your infrastructure in terms of storages, in terms of servers, and so on. And when it really comes to cloud native applications, Veeam is considered as a number one protecting cloud native applications like Kubernetes and containers platform. So we have our own product, which is Kasten. It's a number one leader in Kubernetes backup and disaster recovery. It can be installed and configured, and you can start to perform backup, replication, disaster recovery within a few minutes. So if you have Kubernetes workloads or you're planning to have Kubernetes platforms in future, Veeam will be ready to support you. So let's talk about the data protection strategy that will help you to protect your data. So general production rule is 3-to-1, which means to have 3 copies of your data, including your production copy. 2 of those copies to be in a different hardware. So in case if you have hardware failure, you won't be losing both copies of the data. And one of them to be an offsite to be protected from disaster recovery. So it can be like in a service in a different service provider, or it can be in a cloud storage, or it can be even like on a cloud on any cloud storage. But let's assume that you've got an attack or ransomware on your production environment with this general strategy. So aggregated across all the 3 copies of your data, including the offsite backup, because all those 3 copies are being facing the network and connected to the network. So the attack will reach all those copies. And here where Veeam comes into place to extend this protection policy with adding 1 and 0 to it. So 1 means what does that mean is to have an ultra resilient backup copy of your data. So the backup copy will be protected from ransomware attacks by being offline or air gapped or immutable. So that will guarantee that your backup is being protected from attacks. And then to perform an automatic recovery verifications, and that's what our Sure Backup does. So we do recovery verifications, and we make sure that we have zero errors when on that backup. So in this case, you can have a completed protection strategy, and you will be 100% sure that your data is protected and recoverable with zero errors. And of course, Veeam will be able to help you easily to comply with this protection strategy with our native features that we will be talking about on the next slides. So Veeam backup and recovery features and capabilities. So here let's talk about a high-level architecture of Veeam backup and replication solutions. It consists actually three main components: the Veeam backup server, which is the main controller server for the whole backup infrastructure. We have the backup proxies, which are the data mover who will be moving and retrieving the data from the production to the target storage. And they will be in charge of the deduplication, compression, encryption for the data. And finally, we have our backup repository, which is the target of our data, which can be any storage that you have, whether you have like a SAN storage, NAS storage, DAS storage, deduplication appliance, object storage, tape library, whatever you have, we can utilize without any limitations. So with Veeam, we can back up any data, any applications, any cloud. So whether you have a virtual server, whether you have a physical servers, virtual workstations, you have cloud services or some enterprise application like SAP HANA and Oracle, you have shared files, Veeam will be able to provide a protection and disaster recovery for all this workload. And we can even provide a full monitoring and visibility on this on your production and your backup infrastructure as well. So as being said, like Veeam is able to back up all your workload, but how about the recovery, which is a really most important part? So how about if you're not able to recover the data that you're backing up, then there will be no value of the backup. So here, Veeam, when it comes to have lots of method to perform recovery with an agentless. So you can recover a full virtual machine. You can do a single file or single folder level recovery for a virtual machine, for a physical server, or maybe for a cloud server. We can do an application item level recovery. So if you're backing up an SQL database server, Oracle database server, Active Directory, Exchange, so we can recover a single database table. We can recover a single emails, an Active Directory users, and even an Active Directory users attributes if something has been missing on this user attributes. So we have also the instant recovery features, where we power on the virtual machine directly from the backup storage. And that's you will have the backup, you will have your machines up and running within 2 to 3 minutes. And this will help you extremely to lower your RTOs. And for this, with this instant recovery, you can do it for any workloads that you are backing up by converting those backup files that you have to a virtual machines, whether on VMware or a Hyper-V or a HV environment, then power in directly from the backup storage. And we'll talk about this in more details on the next slides as well. And also we have the direct restore to any protected data to the cloud. So whatever backup that we have, whether it's from the on-prem, from cloud, from a virtual, we can restore it directly to any cloud that we any cloud provider like AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. So that can be within few clicks. You can restore your data immediately, migrate it to AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. And we also can integrate with production storage, so we can restore directly from storage snapshots, whether those storage snapshots are being taken by Veeam or being taken by the storage itself. So we still can explore those snapshots and we can restore from them. And as being said, so those all those options can be done from a single platform with an agentless on a virtual machine environment. So here is a sample of the application item level recovery for Microsoft Exchange Server. So as we can see here on this Exchange Server, we are browsing here the backup file, and we can see the users on the backup files. We open the emails and we can browse the emails for that user, and we can select to restore it to the same user or different user. We can export it, we can send it as an attachment, and so on. And the same would be for the Active Directory as well. So for the Active Directory, we can restore a single object, containers, or we can restore a group policy. We can restore a specific DNS record or a configuration file or any configurations that been from your Active Directory. And we actually have another explorer for the SharePoint and for the MSL, for the SQL, for the Microsoft SQL, and for Oracle as well. So let's talk about this very unique features that we talk about that will help you to meet a very short RTOs. So usually when we do a restore, we usually copy the backup file from the backup storage to the production storage, then power it on from there. And this will take sometimes, like if the virtual machine is large, it takes an hours to be completed to copy the whole file to the production storage. So, and here what the instant recovery does is what we do is we convert the backup file, whether it's from a cloud machine or for a virtual machine or for a physical servers or even for a workstation, we convert that backup file to the hypervisor format, and then we power it on directly from the backup storage. And that can be done within 2 to 3 minutes. So your virtual machine would be up and running within 2 to 3 minutes. And that's what we said, like it will be, you can meet very short RTOs in this case. And your virtual machine can be up and running and your user will start to work on it. And if you are really satisfied with this virtual machines, you can start doing a live migration for the backup for the files from the backup storage to the production seamlessly with the minimal service interruptions. So, and that can be done with no limitation on the backup storage comparing to any other vendors in the market. So we have no limitation on the backup storage when we do the instant recovery, and it can be done for a single VM or multiple VMs at the same times. So, and since we were able to power on the virtual machine from the backup storage, so how about if we can power it on an isolated network? And that's actually what Sure Backup does. So with the Sure Backup, we are 100% sure that it will help you to make sure that your backup file is 100% recoverable with zero errors. And that will help you to comply with our protection strategy with the 32110. So the virtual machine will be running in an isolated lab, and it will be from the backup storage, and we will be booting the Veeam will be automatically booting those virtual machine and will do a full check on this virtual machine. So we check the virtual machine status, we check the operating system, the applications that running on it, and even we can run some custom scripts on those virtual machine, and then it will send you a full report about the status of this virtual machine, if it's successfully been recovered or not, and why. Then it will power off the virtual machine and do the cleanup automatically for everything. So this process actually can be scheduled, can schedule it, let's say, in a daily basis, or can schedule it whenever you run a backup for some critical virtual machines. So you want to make sure that those virtual machines are 100% recoverable. So you can schedule it to run right after each backup job. You can schedule it to run for other VMs in a weekly basis, monthly basis, and so on. So, and you really need to know that without this feature, you cannot guarantee that your backup is 100% recoverable, no matter actually what backup software you are using. So let's assume that you have installed Windows Update on one of your server, and you did not reboot actually that virtual machine or that server. So after a week, you did reboot this machine and it came up with a blue screen. Then you found out that this failure and this blue screen was caused by the Windows update, yeah, that you installed a week ago. Then if you go to any of your previous backups that were been done after that update was been installed, those all those backup will be useless. So because they will be also defected. So the only way that to recover your virtual machine or your machine is to recover from a point before you did that update on your virtual on your machine, and you will be losing here in this case about a week of your data. So with Veeam Sure Backup, this will never happen because we are testing the recoverability of your backup files on a normal basis. So this is another feature of Veeam Backup Copy, which help you to comply with the 32110 rules, which is the protection rules. So which will help you to have multiple copies of your backup by having a deduplicated and compressed backup copy file, can be from anywhere to anywhere within your infrastructure, or to any other DR site or cloud provider. And you can also utilize our one accelerator, which will help you to reduce the amount of data that needed to be transferred from the primary storage to the secondary storage by utilizing the global caching features. So again, we have another features that which is the scale out backup repository, which is a really unique features. It is a software defined storage. It's about having a pool of storages designed into 3 tiers, and those tiers would be a performance tiers, and this performance tier can include any backup storage available in your environment that you have and you can utilize. So whether it's SAN storage, DAS storage, deduplication appliance, so any storage that you can add it to this performance tier. And the second tier would be the capacity tier, which is an object storage or an S3 compatible object storage. And third tier would be the archive tier. So your target for the backup would be the scale out backup repository. And then the backup file will be copied and moved across those from the performance to the capacity, then to the archive tier, based on your defined policy. So let's talk about now the replication and continuous data protection. So Veeam natively provide VM replication from production to DR site. So we do create an exact backup copy of your production VM on the DR site, and that's by utilizing the hypervisor snapshots. So the first replica would be a full copy of the VM. Then only changes will be replicated and there will be compressed and deduplicated. So it's like a job that can be scheduled based on your requirements and needs. You can have one-to-one replication site. Can have one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many, and so on. And in case you have a different network configuration on your DR side, you have the option to do network remapping and re-IP. So when the virtual machines, when you fail over to the virtual machine on the DR side, This virtual machine will be ready to connect to the DR network with a new IP address. So it will be up and running immediately once you fail over to it. And as well, you can use the our one accelerator, which will help you to reduce the amount of data that need to be transferred from your production to the DR site. And that's going to be through our global caching. So if the block has been already transferred, it will not be transferred again. And we have our failover plan. So if you have a multi-tier applications, let's say that you have a virtual machine that consists application that consists database servers and application servers. So we can group those VMs together and define a rule for each VMs, and we can order them how to start. So we can make sure that the database servers will be up and running before we power on and fail over to the application server. So the database will be up and running. Then once the application will comes up, it will be connected to the database servers and it will be up and running normally. So as we said, we can do a failover. Then we have two options when we fail over to the DR side, either to fail back or to undo failover. So when we fail back, we do apply all the changes that we have done here once we come back in production in the DR side and we fail back. So we replicate all the changes that's happened on the DR side to the production side. And when we if we don't care, like if we don't want to replicate those changes and we don't care about it, we can just do an undo failover. And in this case, you will be losing the changes that were happening on the DR side before you fail back again. So in addition, Veeam can provide you with a continuous data protection. So with the continuous data protection, Veeam can help you to meet a near zero RPO. So you can replicate every 2 seconds, and that's by replicating the IO operation, rather than using the snapshots. So we are monitoring the IO operation on the data stores that for that virtual machine. Then we replicate immediately minimal with every 2 seconds. And that can be done even like with an agentless, without need of installing any agents on those virtual machine. And of course, data will be compressed and deduplicated before it being sent to the other side. Sure Replica, it is similar to what we have discussed before about the Sure Backup. So we power on the virtual machine from a specific restore point in an isolated network on your DR side to perform a health check on it. So we do a full health check on it to make sure that if you fail over to that virtual machine, you can go up in production safely. And now let's talk about ransomware and data security and see how can Veeam help you to mitigate against ransomware attacks. So let's start with this 5 functions, the wheels of 5 functions. So, and I believe some of you, if they have a security background, you may recognize it. So this is actually the NIST cybersecurity framework. And with Veeam, we can easily help you to comply with it. So we can easily help you to detect, to identify the data that you want to back up by grouping them and so on. We can help you to protect them by complying with the 32110 rules, by providing Sure Backup and the Sure Replica and so on. We can detect anomalies or any suspicious behavior on your production environment using our Veeam monitoring tool. We can respond to any action that's been happening on your environment based on a defined criteria. And with the orchestrator, we can build a predefined recovery plans, which will help you to comply with your SLAs. We can do a secure restore, and we can, when it comes to recovery, and we can do an immediate recovery with using the instant recovery. We have multiple ways to recover your data, as been mentioned before. So, in order to be protected from ransomware attacks, the main thing that you should be considering is to have at least one ultra resilient copy of your backup. What means ultra resilient copy? That this backup file is being protected from ransomware attacks, and that's by being stored either on an immutable backup repository, so you can utilize an S3 compatible object storage, or it can be in a Veeam hardened Linux repository, which would be any Veeam Linux repository, and this can be configured as an immutable backup repository. So the backup that's stored on this backup repository would be immutable and protected. Or if you can store them on an air gap storage, which are the removable media like tape media or rotating hard drives. So in order to enable immutability on an object storage that support immutability, this is an example from Amazon S3 Bucket. So to enable immutability, it's only a checkbox that you check, and then you define the number of days to keep the backup files immutable. So those backup files cannot be changed, cannot be modified until this period of time has been finished. And even the backup admin will not be able to touch them or do change anything on the integrity of those backup files. So it will never be deleted, it will never be encrypted, and so on. And if you don't have this kind of object storage that support immutability, so with Veeam, we can ask you to bring any Linux server that has a supported Linux distribution, then attach any storage to that server and configure it as a hardened Linux repository. So any backup that will be stored on this backup repository will be immutable and will be protected from attacks. So Veeam supports tape libraries starting from LTO3. We do support parallel processing. We can store full and incremental backups on tapes. So we deal with it as we're dealing with normal disks. So usually tapes being used for long-term archiving. So, but we also always recommend our customer to keep those tapes ejected and offline, so to make sure that they're not connected to the network. So, and that's in order to achieve an air-gapped backup. So this is a really unique feature, which is the secure restore. With the secure restore, what we do is we do scan the backup file before we restore it to the production, and we scan it using your organization antivirus. So Veeam can natively integrate with your antivirus software and scan the backup file before it's being restored to the production. So if it finds no infection on the backup file, it will be restored normally in production. If there is an infection, you can choose either to restore it to production and disable the network, or you can just fail the backup job. And it's actually this secure restore feature. It will actually has a very important role before and after the attacks. So before you have any attack, you can enable it with the Sure Backup. So with the Sure Backup, we do perform a recovery verification for the backup file. So we can add to it to scan the backup file from infection by the secure restore. And after you have the attack and you want to recover from the attack, you may use the secure restore as well to make sure that your backup file are not infected before you restore them to production. So this is a really unique features of Veeam, as being said. So in addition to what we have said, we talked about Veeam Backup, recovery, replication, disaster recovery. So let's now talk about Veeam monitoring and analytic tools. which is our Veeam one. So this is Veeam one is a really part of our Veeam availability suite. So it provides a real-time visibility of your entire environment, and it will to manage it and monitoring. So it will manage and monitor your not only your backup infrastructure, but also your production infrastructure. So it provides a real-time monitoring, analytics. It provides reporting. It will help you to monitor the health for the environment, for the performance. It can help you with optimize the configurations. It has some intelligent diagnostics tools, and it has an auto remediation for some common infrastructure issues. So it's able to fix them. Veeam it does not only monitor your production infrastructure in terms of the host, but it will also monitor the network infrastructure. It will monitor the storage, even the services, the processes that are running on each VM. So you can select a specific VM and check the services that are running on it, and any processes on those VMs. You can create some special alarms. You can trigger some actions to be done based on defined criteria. So with Veeam as well, it will help you to detect anomalies and suspicious behavior. So in your production and in your backup infrastructure. So, and that's what be by analyzing the server specs, virtual machine or physical server. So we know like what's the normal behavior for the CPU and the RAM usage on that machine. So if we detect any abnormal behavior on the RAM or the CPU, or even like the on the IOPS or the network transmission for a specific virtual machine or for a specific server, that will trigger an alarm, and it can even take an action on behalf of you if you schedule it to do so. So if you can schedule it to terminate the services, or which consist multiple machines, if in case of suspicious behavior. So when it really comes to monitoring, Veeam is a really unique product comparing to all other competitors. So with Veeam, we're not only monitoring your backup infrastructure, and we're giving you a visibility on it, but we will give you also a full visibility on your production infrastructure as well. So we provide a detailed report. We provide a real-time health check, capacity planning. With Veeam, we have the what-if scenario. So if you're planning, let's say, to add 10 virtual machines to your infrastructure, Veeam will tell you how much resources would you require to add this workloads in your backup infrastructure and in your production infrastructure. And it will tell you if you really have enough resources to add those infrastructure, and how much additional resources would be needed. So you can plan for the upgrade or for adding any additional resources before taking any action. So in short, like Veeam like has everything that will be able to monitor to be monitored, and it will give you a full visibility of your whole infrastructure, whether your backup infrastructure or production infrastructure. And now let's get a quick overview about Veeam protection for Microsoft Office 365 environment. So the first question that comes to your mind is why do you need to back up Microsoft Office 365? Because it's in Microsoft Cloud, and this is actually true. It is in Microsoft Cloud, and it is highly available there. But what about if you have some human errors, like some accidental deletions or data overwritten? So what will happen to your data? What about if you have some retention policy? You need to set some retention policies that are being, fixed and being not easy to be modified by Microsoft, and you want to meet some retention policy based on your SLAs or on your governance. So how would you do this? So it will be some kind of gaps here. So, and if you have, like, let's say, a multiple hybrid environment of your of your exchange, so you have an Office 365 and you have an on-premise exchange, and you want to back up both of those environment and to manage the emails and to migrate between both environments. And how about if you have some security vulnerabilities? So you have some external or internal security threats, and this actually happened. So once we've heard actually about it a lot. So an attack has been attacked some of an organization and encrypted all their data. And when they came back to Microsoft and asked them to resolve their issue, and this is their responsibility. So what Microsoft came back to them and said that this is your data and you are responsible on this, and this is actually based on the agreement. So Microsoft has said that clearly, that it's your data and you own it, you control it. So most of the customer perception is that Microsoft takes care of everything, but the reality is not that. So Microsoft will take care of their infrastructure to make sure that it's highly available, but the data your inside the inside their infrastructure is your data, and you are responsible to it, so you have to take care of this data. So, and according to an industrial research, uh, the IDC, they have clearly mentioned that it's risky if you are adopting Microsoft Office 365 without considering backup software. That's why we are here to show, like, what's the exactly Microsoft does for you. So Microsoft has a really limitations on the retention policy, and it's very complicated to manage. And according to researchers, that those that the compromise that the data will be compromised after about 140 days, and the average retention policy, as being shown here in the graph, is by Microsoft is 30 to 90 days, which is which means that your data is being exposed to data loss in case of any compromise. So what Veeam offers here is will help you to cover all those retention policy gaps, and will give you an easy way to manage and monitor your Office 365 environment, including the Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, and Microsoft Teams. So with Veeam, we can guarantee that your Microsoft Office 365 data is protected, and you can easily meet your legal and compliance requirements. So this is the high-level architecture of the backup process of Veeam Backup for Office 365. So as you can see here, like, this is your Veeam Backup for Office 365 server. It can be hosted on-prem or on cloud, physical, virtual machine, whatever. So we back up the Office 365 and the on-prem environment on a local storage, or it can be on an object storage or a cloud storage. And when it comes to restore, we can restore from the on-prem storage or from the object or cloud storage directly to Office 365 to on-prem. And there where we can migrate that the backup has been taken from Office 365 can be restored directly to on-prem, and vice versa. And we can use our Explorer in order to explore the your backup file before you restore them to production, and that will help you to easily do this process. So this is a sample of the Explorer. It looks like the Explorer that we've shown for the application aware backup that we're doing an application item level recovery for an exchange. So this is how it looks like for the exchange. For the SharePoint, is the same thing. So we can restore document, site, library. We browse your backup. We restore directly from here. Again, it's the same for the OneDrive. So we can restore a single folder, documents, or the whole OneDrive. And again, for the team as well, we can store channel, tabs, posts, files, and so on. So we have more than 40 options to recover your Microsoft Office 365 environment using Veeam Explorers. So finally, let's talk about, before we move to the lab, let's quickly just give you a quick overview about Veeam licensing model. So Veeam licensing model will help you to meet the demand of changing on your environments. And it will include all Veeam features, the features that we talk about, and there are a lot of many other features that actually we don't have the time to cover them all on these sessions, but we have a lot of other features that you can explore them on our veeam.com site. So with this universal license, we can protect any of your workloads. So it's a single universal license can protect any workloads, whether it's a virtual machine, physical, cloud, enterprise applications, or any file shares. It can be all covered by single universal license. So this license can be purchased in terms of bundles, and each bundle will consist 10 instances. And those instances can be either one virtual machine, one cloud or physical servers, or three workstations, or 500 NAS files. So if you are in any case your those any of those workloads are not being needed to be protected, so the license can be used to protect any other workload, and that can be done quickly and easily from the same single platform. And it will, as we said, like, this is a universal license that can cover all your workloads, so no complexity in there. It is a really simple license, and it is a really most capable license available in the market. So we have another license model for the Office 365, and here we have one type of license, which is would be based on the number of protected Microsoft Office 365 users. So based on the number of the users, we purchase this license, and this license would cover your online Exchange, online SharePoint, OneDrive for Business, and Microsoft Teams, anything that under this users. And it can be mixed with it. You can cover even like if you have an on-prem as well, covered by our Office 365, so the user can be counted either if it's on-prem or on cloud. And here's some of our customers in Saudi. So as being said, we have more than 1,200 customers in Saudi, including some, we have, so as you've seen, some telecom and transportations customer. We have a lot of government customers. We have private and public customers, in addition as well to many other confidential customers that are not being mentioned here. And now let's move to the lab. So I will be showing you a demonstration for some of how to add a backup storage, and how we are vendor agnostic, so we have no limitation on the storage that we can add. Some of the restore options, how do we protect you from ransomware attacks, our capabilities, cloud mobilities, and if we still have time, so I will show you quickly how can we protect and restore from Office 365. So let me share the lab with you. Okay. So let me just log in here. Okay. Okay, so this is our console, and this is how Veeam Backup and replication look like. So I will start with showing you the capabilities of how we can add backup storage, and how we are really vendor agnostic. And so if we set add a backup repository, in a few clicks, you can add a DAS storage to be a target for your backup. When you click on it, you can use either Windows or Linux server to be a backup target for you. So if you're looking for having an immutable backup, you can choose a Linux server, and that can be configured as a hardened Linux repository, so the backup will be immutable on it and will be protected from ransomware attacks. So you can have the option to use NAS storage, which is NFS or SMB shares. You have the option to use a deduplication appliance. We have out-of-the-box integration with a lot of vendors in the market. You can see Data Domain, Exogrid, Store1, Quantum X, DX. You can add an object storage. So we have as well native integration with all object storage in the market, and any S3 compatible storage can be added as well. So, and let's see our agenda for the demo. It's like, okay, so we've done with this. So let's try to show you some of the restore options. So first I will show you a backup job. So this backup job I have created this backup job for for the sake of time for the demo sessions. So I'll quickly show you the configuration of the backup job. So we have here, we named the backup job. We can select virtual machines, can add them from here. You can add by host. We can search for name. You can add by data store. You can add by tag. So you can order those virtual machine, which one to start. You can do an exclusion if you are adding, let's say, a vCenter and you want to exclude some virtual machine in there. And here you will be choosing the proxy, that's the data mover. Let's keep it automatic. And here where is your backup repository. So we have selected this as a backup target. The retention policy can be specified by days or number of restore points. We have for longer retention policy, the GFS rule, where you can set some specific backup to be kept for number of weeks or days. So keep the weekly for this number of weeks, the monthly for this number of months, the yearly for this amount of years for longer retention policy. You can configure a secondary destination for a backup copy. So once the backup is completed, it will be sent to another destinations. We have here some advanced options. So we can select the backup mode, which is where is it's incremental or reverse incremental, creating a synthetic, full backups. We have the maintenance that we can do a health check and on the backup files and fix it if fix any corrupted blocks in there. We have the storage optimizations. You can do manage the level of the compression. We can enable encryption on the backup, so the backup would be encrypted. We have a notification, so we can enable SNMP trap as well. For the vSphere, we do enable the CPT by default, where it's the change block tracking. We have the Veeam. The VMware quiescence, which is can be used for Linux server that does not support VSS for application-aware processing. We have the integration with the storage. By default, it will be selected. So if possible, we will be utilizing the storage snapshots. We can run some custom scripts. Sorry. So and here guest processing. So if you have an application that you need to application on it, you can enable the application aware processing. So we can make sure that your application is 100% consistent when we do the backup. And finally, the schedule, you can schedule it in a daily basis, monthly, periodic, and you can schedule it to run after some time and so on. So let's move to the disk. So here, let me show you some the file level recovery. So with this, let's select that VM. And if we don't want to do a file level recovery, we go to the restore guest file, and this is virtual machine, Windows virtual machine. Then we select the restore point that we want to use. We have 4 restore points, so let's select the latest. You can type the reason for that restore and say this is for testing. Sorry. testing FLR, go next. And now a browser will open to browse the backup file for that virtual machine in order to restore the file, the required file. And let's open that virtual machine here. So that's the virtual machine. Let's launch the console, and we'll, okay. So here's the virtual machine, and here we are browsing the backup storage. So let's see that file. I will be deleting this file for the sake of the demo, and I will empty the recycle bin to make sure that it's not there. So that file is on the CS drive, and here's the file. So we just select the file. Here we are, as we said, we're browsing the backup file, and we have the option to copy it to any other place or to restore it. So we have the option either to overwrite or to keep. So let's say it's already not there, so both will be the same. So let's say overwrite. Okay, here's trying to contact the server, so we need to have a permission on that server in order to be able to restore it. So the file should pop up there in a few seconds. So now we just started. It's mounting the server. It's reading from the backup, trying to access the server, and calculating. And now, in a few seconds, the file should be restored successfully there. So yeah, and here's the file, has been already restored successfully. Okay, so what would be next? So we'll test the instant recovery. So here it's been restored, and if you want, I'll show you this. If you want to keep it, so we don't want to overwrite, so we want to make sure that you don't want to overwrite it because maybe there is already some data in there. So the backup file, it will be creating a new backup file, and that will be with a different name. So in the meantime, let's do the instant recovery for a virtual machine. So I will go back here. So we'll show the instant recovery for this machine, let's say. So as we said, the instant recovery, we power on this virtual machine directly from the backup storage without having to restore it to the production. So let's say I want to do an instant recovery for this virtual machine on the VMware environment. And again, here we can select the restore point that we want to use. We'll show you all the restore points that we have for that virtual machine. I don't want to overwrite it. If we keep the original location, I will overwrite it. So I will put it on a different location, and I will rename that virtual machine. So, and again, you can choose the host where to want to restore this virtual machine. Redirect cache, this is where we the changes that's been happening during the instant recovery time while the virtual machine is up and running from the backup storage. So any changes will be written on the cache. So by default will be written either on the backup repository server or on the VBR server based on the configuration. And this is the secure restore. So the secure restore features that we talk about. So if you enable the secure restore, here we can scan the backup file before we restore it into production. So you just check this box and just say, please scan this. If you scan it, and if you find any malware infection there, just disable the network adapter and restore it, or just fail this job. And you type the reason for that instant recovery. I will not connect it to the network, so I don't want to have an IP conflict, because the production VM is already up and running there. So here we just started the restore process. So we are restoring a whole virtual machine now, and by utilizing the instant recovery features. With the instant recovery feature, as we said, we're not restoring the we're not copying the files from the production, from the target storage, from the backup storage to the production. We are powering on the virtual machine directly from the backup storage. So while this is running, let me just see. Oh, sorry, that's for a different thing. That's for Office 365. So let me see this browser. Yeah, this has been completed. I will close it. Okay, and here's the file that we have just restored because we did not overwrite. So just put it in the new name. So let's close this and we'll go back to Veeam Backup and applications. So here we are mounted. So it's about like it's only a few seconds, and the virtual machine, I believe it's up and running now. So here's the virtual machine, it's up and running now. Let's go to the vCenter. And okay, here's the virtual machine. So let's launch the web. Still powering on. Yeah, just back on production, so we can log into it as well. So the virtual machine is up and running now within less than a minute, and that's because we are powering on this virtual machine from the backup storage. We're not moving the backup file. And let's see here, like the storage. The storage is the Veeam Backup repository, so it's not really located on the vSphere data stores. If we compare it to the original VM, so the original VM is on the data store of the vSphere, but for this VM that we just restored using the instant recovery, it's hosted on the Veeam Backup repository. So now it's in production, and the user can start to work on it normally. And if you are satisfied with it, users are good with it, you have no issue, the VM is up and running normally, we can do a migrate to production. So once we migrate to production, we migrate it from the backup storage to the production storage to the vSphere data stores. You choose where to save it and which data store in your production environment, and that can be done seamlessly with minimal service interruption. Or you can do just stop publishing, and when you stop publishing, Veeam will do the cleanup. It will just unmount the virtual machine, delete it, and it will be now just the VM will be deleted, it will be offline, and so on. So and let's talk about the item level recovery now. So this will be in a few seconds. So now removing, unmounting, deleting. So yeah, now VM should be deleted. So VM will not be longer there because it's just deleted the mounting point. It's not deleting actually a virtual machine. It's just deleting the mount point and the VM configuration that was created on the vCenter. So let's show some of the capabilities of the application-aware processing. So if we, let's say, want to restore this DC, so if we can go to this options, application item, it knows that there is an active directory on that virtual machine. It's also an agentless, so no need to install an agent on that virtual machine. It is smart enough to find out that there is an active directory there, and we can browse the active directory from the backup storage, and we can restore directly from the backup storage to the production with an agentless, so no agent is being installed or configured on the domain controller server. So here we are mounting the backup files. So backup file will be mounting in a few seconds, so you can browse those the users and the active directory. Oh, yes, the active directory is already there. So we can browse the user in here on your active directory, your DNS records, the configuration files. Those users are on the backup file. If you want to restore any of those users, you just right-click on it and restore it to the production or restore it to any other words, or you can export it and so on. You have the option to compare object attributes. So let's say that this user, an extension for that user has been changed on the Active Directory, and you want to know what has been changed on it, and you want to restore only that that change on the that's a changed attribute, so you can compare the attribute with the productions. So here there's nothing has been changed, but we can show all the attributes that will be measured. So this is the display name. Anything has been changed, it will be appear there. So if you want to restore it, you just click on it, you hit restore, and it will be restored only that changed attribute immediately to the production. And moving to the so for the application items, the same thing for the SharePoint, for the SQL, for the Oracle, and so on. Let's show some of the ransomware, how to be protected from ransomware attacks. So we showed how when we restore that we have the option to scan the backup file during the restore from any infection. And let's show how to, if you go to the backup infrastructure, how to set the immutability. Okay, and go to the backup repository, and we have here a Linux repository server, which is a hard Linux repository server, which is the XFS. Yeah, that's the repository server. Okay, go to properties. I'll show you how to set that immutability. It just a checkbox we set, and we set the immutability for 7 days, and this backup will make it immutable, and it will be protected for 7 days from any change, any modification, any encryption. So let's say that this is the backup file. I have a backup file that's been stored on that immutable backup repository. If I try to delete it, even if I'm an admin on that server, I'm a backup admin, I will not be able to delete it. A warning will pop up and will not be able to delete it. So it will show up in a second that you don't have a permission to delete it because the backup file is immutable. And finally, I will show you the mobility options that we have. And let's see. Okay. Now it's scanning, trying to delete it, processing the backup file, found the backup files on the storage, and here it is trying to remove it. And obviously it will not be able because that backup file is immutable, and it's being protected from any deletion or modifications. So give it a second. Yes, that's what is mentioned here, that this file is immutable and you will not be able to delete it unless before any day before 4th of April, which is 7 days from now, from the backup file actually. Okay, so and finally show some of the mobility options. So with this mobility options, I will show you that what we have the mobility that we can, this backup file has been created for a VMware virtual machine. We can do an instant recovery on a Hyper-V, on a different vSphere environment. We can do an instant recovery on Nutanix AHV. We can do restore it directly on Amazon cloud, on Microsoft Cloud, and here where we migrate this virtual machine to Amazon or to Azure or to Google. So this virtual, and again, the same thing can be done for a backup of any of this protected cloud environment. So if Veeam is able actually to protect Amazon, we have our own product for protecting Amazon and Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. So once if we have any of those machines protected by Veeam, we can restore them immediately on your on-prem environment or between them. So EC2 VM can be restored on Amazon. Amazon can be on Azure. Azure can be restored in Google. It can be restored on-prem and as well. So you have the flexibility to migrate the backup to restore it anywhere that you have. So and finally, let me show you quickly about I know that we are running out of time, so I'll show you quickly about Office 365 and how we can restore. So this is our Office 365 GUI. This is how it looks like, and those are the backup jobs. So I will show how to restore a single email. So we can do browse the Exchange or the SharePoint, the OneDrive, the team. So let's browse the Exchange from the latest backup points. So it will open again Veeam Explorer for Exchange. So here we are browsing the backup storage, and I have here this user Patrick. So this is from Office 365. This is live data. So I have this Patrick Ross. So I will open again the Office 365. Okay. This Patrick user. Here's the user. Okay. I have the inbox here. Okay. It will show up everything on this inbox from the latest backup. So do we have, I think, Japanese general? This is the subjects. Okay, okay. I think we don't have the latest update we have here. This is the last backup was been taken from this email. So I will remove this email and this email for now, and I will try to restore them. So I will delete them, and I will make sure that they're not on the trash. So I will empty the trash, go back to the inbox, and I to make sure. So if I don't know which emails exactly has been deleted, so I want to check the status for those emails, which one. So I will do a compare with the production. So this is my backup. With this backup, so I have here to have a look to look into the production. Okay, in order to in order to compare with the production. Just a second. So Patrick P. Ross. Okay, the password. So I will compare it with the production to see this is my backup, and I will comparing now my backup with the production to see what's the different. So that will make it easier for you to find anything missing. So, okay. So here is the email that's been deleted. The status is deleted or moved. So in order to restore that email, we can just right click on it, restore it directly. We can have the option to export, to save it, to send it as an attachment, and so on. So let's restore it directly to that user. Again, we'll need to authenticate. So restore, and it should pop up here. Okay, here's it. It's already popped up here immediately. So this is the way. It's how quick is that and easy to browse. We have many other options. You have the search capabilities. We have the advanced search that you can search per user, select if you know anything about that email, so you can search from here, from inside the user, inside the whole organization, inside the whole exchange box, and so on. So I think I'll try to cover. Actually, we have a lot of more things to do, but we're running out of time. So again, let me go back to our presentation here. So as we said, we have covered all those points in the demo. So and finally, we have reached to our Q&A section. So if you still have any questions that are not being added to the webinar, please let us know. So, okay, let me just go to those questions. Okay, I can submit. Okay. So, okay, so how I can
Thank you so
see.
much, Mr. Ahmed. I will just read several questions that we have received.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
yeah, to just let you answer for it. First, we have uh, First question, how can I select the best Veeam license to use?
Well, as being said, we have our VUL license, which is our universal license that can cover all your workloads. So with our universal license, you can only select being so you can just only count how many instance that you have, instance whether they are virtual machine or physical servers, and based on the number of those instances, you can select the number of required bundled of the Veeam Universal License. And each bundle, as has been said, consists 10 of those instances. So based on the number of the virtual machine or physical server that you have, or cloud server that you have, no matter how much storage that has been consumed.
Brilliant. Another question that we have received, how do I confirm if my backup will restore correctly? Will be restored correctly. Yes.
Yeah, we have talked about the features here that we have with the Veeam Sure Backup, where we power on the virtual machine directly from the backup storage, and we do a full check on the virtual machine. So we check the operating system, we check the network, we check the applications that are running on it. We do a full health check on the virtual machines, and then we do send you a full report about the status of that recoverability test, and if it's 100% recoverable or not, and why. So in that case, you can 100%, you may be 100% sure that your backup is 100% recoverable.
Good. Thank you so much. Another question says, can I use backup instead of antivirus for data protection and why?
Well, actually, backup and antivirus is a different, different mechanism. So for the antivirus is something we're talking about, something protection for your environment, to be live protection for the environment and so on. So to detect any immediate behavior on any abnormal behavior on your environment, if there is anything. So it's a different methodology, but for Veeam, what we can do, we protect you and we can integrate with your antivirus. So Veeam, it's the last defense for you when it comes to the backup. So you need to have this data protected, saved in a protected place. So Veeam will take a full backup of your machines, of your data, and put it in a safer place. And what we can do is, when we integrate with your antivirus, we can scan the backup file before we restore it to the production. So it's a different actually methodology. We cannot survive without any of them. So you still need your antivirus to be in place. You still need Veeam to do the backup and the protection for your data for you. So hopefully that would be clear. So is there any question, Abdul Ghani?
Yes, thank you so much. Again, what is the value added with Veeam Microsoft 365 compared to backup of Microsoft Backup itself?
Well, as been said, Microsoft, they're not doing actually. They have some limitations when it comes to the retention policy and how do they back up your environment, and that's based on if someone is working on the Office 365, you would notice like how that is complicated, how to manage those retention policy. And let's say if a user has left the organization, then yeah, his email will be gone. It will be protected for some times, and it will be gone. But with Veeam, you can save his data. You can take it on-prem and save it forever. So you have the full flexibility and on protecting the data and on managing all the retention policy easily. And when it comes to the restore capabilities, as we have shown on the lab, how easy is to browse and to restore data. This is like way different than what you can experience with Microsoft. And even like if I want to add a point here, Microsoft themselves has been they are recommending Veeam as the number one market leader on backup Office 365, and they'll keep posting this on their website and on the LinkedIn, as Veeam is the best solution to back up their the Office 365 data, and they actually recommend to use a third party as well.
Brilliant. Okay, last question that we receive. How can I start to use Veeam where I can buy the license?
All right. So if you want to start using Veeam, just go to veeam.com. You can install a free version from online, and you can have a license that will protect, I believe, like about 10 instances to use it with a free trial, 30 days. You can as well, that's you to test it. You can reach us actually directly, or you can reach any of our partners like Cloud Zones. You can go to veeam.com and contact our sales there, and you will be directly directed to us or any of our local partner in the region.
Amazing. Okay, that's, I believe, all the questions that we have received. Thank
Yep.
you so much. I would like
Yep.
to thank you so much for your time, Mr.
Uh,
Ahmed.
Thank you. I just wanted to close this with saying that just like I'm hoping that our webinar was interesting and informative, because we were trying actually to cover most of the common capabilities of Veeam, but there are many, so we have tried to just focus on the main vital ones. And for sure, if anyone still have any questions or concerns, or would like to set up any discussion, any technical discussions, please feel free to reach us directly or through our partner Cloud Zones, and you may visit our website veeam.com. And would like really to thank you again for your time, and we're looking forward to working with you. And thank you, Abdullah, again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good day ahead.
You too
Thank you
again.
guys for attending our webinar. To know more about our services and next webinars, please do follow our LinkedIn pages, Twitter, and YouTube as well. Thanks again for our partners to educate our audience and customers as well. I hope you all the best and have a great time ahead. Bye bye.